Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Thank you very much. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, Chapter 19, The Island of Jambudvi, text number 11 and 12. I'll read text 11 and then we'll read chant 12 together. Text 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Upashama Shilaya Ratanatmaya Mayaya Namo Kinchana Vittaya Rishi Rishabhaya Nara Narayanaya Paramahansa Paramagurave Atma Ramadipataye Namo Nama Iti. Please respond. Om. O Supreme Lord, Nama, my respectful obeisances. Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Upashama Shilaya, who has mastered the senses. Uparata Anatmaya, having no attachment for this world. For this material world. Nama, my respectful obeisances. Akinchana Vittaya, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the only asset of persons who have no material possessions. Rishi Rishabhaya, the most exalted of saintly persons. Nara Narayanaya, Nara Narayana, Paramahansa Paramagurave, the most exalted spiritual master of all Paramahansas, liberated persons. Atma Rama Adipataye, the best of self-realized persons. Nama Nama, my respectful obeisances again and again. Iti, thus. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Nara Narayana, the best of all saintly persons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the most self-controlled and self-realized. He is free from false prestige, and he is the asset of persons who have no material possessions. He is the spiritual master of all Paramahansas, who are the most exalted human beings, and he is the master of the self-realized. Let me offer my repeated obeisances at his lotus feet. Text number 12. Gayati chedam kartasya sargadishu yo na bhadyate na hanyate deha gatopi daihike drashturna drik yasya gunair vidushyate tasmai namo sakta vivikta sakshine gayati chedam kartasya sargadishu yo na bhadyate na hanyate deha gatopi daihike drashturna drigyasya gunair vidushyate tasmai namo sakta vivikta sakshine gayati chedam kartasya sargadishu yo na bhadyate na hanyate deha gatopi daihike drashturna drigyasya gunair vidushyate tasmai namo sakta vivikta sakshine. Please chant. Gayati chedam kartasya sargadishu yo na bhadyate na hanyate deha gatopi daihike drashturna drigyasya gunair vidushyate tasmai namo sakta vivikta sakshine gayati chedam kartasya sargadishu yo na bhadyate na hanyate deha gatopi daihike drashturna drigyasya gunair vidushyate tasmai namo sakta vivikta sakshine. Mataji. Gayati, he sings. Cha, and idam, this. What it's saying is, Lord Narada Muni says the previous verse and also this. Karta, the executor, asya, of this cosmic manifestation. Sarga adishu, of the creation, maintenance and destruction. Yeah, one who na bhadyate is not attached as the creator, master or proprietor. Na, not. Hanyate is victimized. Deha gata api, although appearing as a human being. Daihike, by bodily tribulations, such as hunger, thirst and fatigue. Drashtu, of him who is the seer of everything. Na, not. Drik, the power of vision. Yasya, of whom. Gunai, by the material qualities. Vidushyate, is polluted. Tasmai, unto him. Nama, my respectful obeisances. Asakta, unto the Supreme Person, who is unattached. Vivikta, without affection. Sakshine, the witness of everything. Translation. Narada, the most powerful saintly sage, also worships Nara Narayana by chanting the following mantra. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this visible cosmic manifestation. Yet, he is completely free from false prestige. Although to the foolish, he appears to have accepted a material body like us, he is unaffected by bodily tribulations like hunger, thirst, and fatigue. Although he is the witness who sees everything, his senses are unpolluted by the objects he sees. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that unattached, pure witness of the world, the Supreme Soul, the Personality of Godhead. Please repeat. Narada, the most powerful saintly sage, also worships Nara Narayana by chanting the following mantra. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of the creation, maintenance and annihilation of this visible cosmic manifestation. Yet, he is completely free from false prestige. Although to the foolish, he appears to have accepted a material body like us, he is unaffected by bodily tribulations like hunger, thirst, and fatigue. Although he is the witness who sees everything, his senses are unpolluted by the objects he sees. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that unattached, pure witness of the world, the Supreme Soul, the Personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described as Satchid Ananda Vigraha, the body of eternity, transcendental bliss, and full knowledge. Now in this verse, he is more fully described. Krishna is the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation, yet he is unattached to it. If we were to construct a very tall skyscraper, we would be very attached to it. But Krishna is so renounced that although he has created everything, he He is not attached to anything. Na padhyate. Furthermore, although Krishna has his transcendental form, Satchidananda Vigraha, he is not disturbed by the bodily necessities of life, which are called daihika. For example, he is never hungry, thirsty or fatigued. Na hanyate deha gato api daihike. Then again, since everything is Krishna's property, he sees everything and is present everywhere. But because his body is transcendental, he is above vision. He is above vision, the objects of vision and the process of vision. When we see someone beautiful, we are attracted. The sight of a beautiful woman immediately attracts a man, and the sight of a man naturally attracts a woman. Krishna, however, is transcendental to all these faults. Although he is the seer of everything, he is not afflicted with faulty vision. Nadrik yasya gunai vidushyate. Therefore, although he is the witness and seer, he is aloof from all affection for the activities he sees. He is always unattached and separate. He is only a witness. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Unamilitam Yena Tasamai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gayati chetam kartasya sargadishu yo navadyate nahanyate deha gatopi daihikai drashtu nadrikyasya gunai vidushyate tasamai namo sakta vivikta sakshine. The Srimad Bhagavatam is wonderful in the way it has been constructed, how it develops an understanding of Krishna from the first canto to the 10th canto. And now we're in the 5th canto, midway. And the living entity, he's born in the darkness of ignorance. He doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. So he has to learn. And it is not academic knowledge. It is the development of his consciousness, his original consciousness, which is not in ignorance. But right now he is in ignorance. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is so constructed that if Prabhupada says in the preface, if it is studied systematically, then his ignorance is removed and his dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened just by submissively hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam every day. So wonderful. And the wonderful thing is Srila Prabhupada, he is supporting exactly this theme throughout all the verses, the purports that he gives. So now, today, through the words of Narada Muni, we're learning about Krishna in some detail. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that Krishna's form is Satchidananda Vigraha. But today, in this verse, we are getting Krishna is being more fully described. And how is he being described? Is that Narada says, first of all, see, the living entity, he doesn't see God. He sees the objects of his senses. What he can see, what he can smell, touch, taste, and hear. That's what he sees. So from that he doesn't see God. How will he see God? So the first thing Narada Muni says, well, what we see, this creation, Krishna is the master of this creation. He's the master of creating this creation, of maintaining this creation, and of destroying this creation. He is that master. So he's starting from our perspective, from where we are, and helping us to understand someone who we yet do not know, through what we do know. Because the inquiry is, where did all this come from? Who am I? And who is maintaining it? And indeed, who is destroying it? So this is Krishna. That person is Krishna. So slowly, from what we can see to the actual original form and personality of the Lord is being revealed through the pages of the Bhagavatam. So then Narada Muni goes on to say that that it's an interesting point he makes, because whilst Krishna is the creator and maintainer and destroyer of the universe, we are also many creators, maintainers, and destroyers of little things. A house, some piece of land, some garden, my body, my clothes, my food. So we are little creators, maintainers, and destroyers. The interesting thing is, when we create, maintain, and destroy something, we are affected by it. It affects us. Whatever we see, hear, touch, taste, and smell affects us. And interestingly, Krishna, he is not affected. This is the difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narada Muni, Prabhupada one time speaks of Narada Muni as the original spiritual master of the entire world. So Narada Muni, as the spiritual master, he is teaching us that Krishna is unaffected, whereas we are affected. It's a very significant point. The difference has to be appreciated. At this point of Krishna consciousness, as revealed in the Bhagavatam in the 5th canto, we have to start to appreciate the difference between ourselves and the Supreme Personality of God. So one significant difference is that he is unaffected by whatever he has created, he maintains or destroys. And whereas we are affected. So very and then not only that, He's also free from false prestige. So this word false prestige is derived from the Sanskrit na badhyate. He is not bound. And hanyate, na hanyate and na badhyate. He is not victimized. So badhyate means to be not bound, but Prabhupada says he is free from false prestige. So this binding activity takes the form of having false prestige. So in the purport, Prabhupada speaks of somebody who creates a skyscraper. He becomes attached. I did it. That's my creation. I'm the one. He may be very humble about it, but he's very conscious of it. He is aware, I am the doer. Kartaham iti manyate. It's a natural, it's inescapable condition of the living entity. But Krishna doesn't have that. He can create it and be renounced about it. He can maintain it and be renounced about it. And he can destroy and also be renounced about it. Everything. And then there's an interesting example given that in the purport. When we see someone beautiful, we are attracted. So we didn't create, but just the objects of the senses, the things, drig, whatever we see, affects us. It either attracts us or repels us. But Krishna, whatever he sees, neither attracts him nor repels him. He's unaffected. It's a very profound understanding. So what does all this do? When you understand about Krishna in these ways, in these details, what does it do? What is the sum total effect? What it does, it enhances our Krishna consciousness. We are attracted to this personality who is unaffected. So this has gone way past the stage of thinking of God as almighty, all-powerful, all-great, vengeful, destroyer. You start to appreciate some of the sublime qualities of his personality. His personality is unique. Everything is not measured simply in terms of the power to destroy. Because in animal life, we only appreciate the strong. Whoever is powerful. Strong means what? That he can destroy the others. But Krishna is now being revealed in a way which is not based on the principle of dominating, but the principle that he has certain unique qualities that are not to be found in another living entity. And whilst being renounced, he doesn't struggle to be renounced. He is naturally renounced, naturally unaffected. So this is also encouraging for the devotee. Generally when there's a phenomena of psychiatrists. When a patient with some problem goes to a psychiatrist, it's found, there are statistics that the psychiatrists themselves are very much affected. They themselves need psychiatry help. In other words, they're unable to help somebody without themselves being affected. It's a similar phenomenon with doctors. Because doctors are always attending to the needs of others. So there is a phenomenon going on, what's called a burnout rate they burn out very quickly. They cannot sustain their career for very long. It's only a short period. So in all these things, we're seeing how everyone is affected. Even a guru, it's said in the Nectar of Devotion, one should not take too many disciples. Why? Because invariably one will be affected. And therefore, you see, this is an interesting point about Srila Prabhupada. He was unaffected. Normally, you have one disciple, 2, 10, 20, you are affected. And the more you have, the more affected you will be. But Srila Prabhupada was unaffected. So this is where we can appreciate the superior qualities of the person. But in Krishna, he is unaffected to the unlimited degree. He can create innumerable universes and remain unaffected. Nothing affects him. He doesn't have false prestige. He doesn't have the sense of ownership, even though he is the owner. Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the Maha Ishvara, but he is unaffected. Unlike the psychiatrists treating patients, doctors, and the guru, he remains unaffected. So that's encouraging. That means he can take our burdens. Because if you go to a psychiatrist who is himself affected, you will be a little reluctant whether he can help me. Because he may be exhausted. He may be fatigued. But Krishna is not fatigued. Krishna can deal with unlimited, innumerable living entities without ever being exhausted. In Bhagavad Gita, there's a nice word that comes up again and again in many verses. Avyayam. Undeteriorating. So Krishna does not develop any kind of fatigue from any of his activities. So Narada Muni is capturing this wonderful feature. He goes on to use the word hanyate. Hanyate means to be killed, destroyed. But here it means he is not affected by bodily tribulations like hunger, thirst, and fatigue. So this is the feature. Now here's a person. He's a person, but he's not like us. And this is what it means in the Shruti mantra that Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadha. He is the one eternal amongst eternals. In other words, yes, you're eternal, Krishna is eternal, but he's special. You're a living entity, he's a living entity, but he's special. And what is special is being elaborated here. And the interesting thing is in the detail. Then he finally says that he is the witness, Sakshine. But a witness who is unaffected by what he sees. He's unaffected, he's unpolluted. And he's saying, therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Tasmai. To that person with all these qualities, I, Nama Asakta Vivikta Sakshine, I offer my obeisances. In the previous verse he says, Nama, I offer my obeisances repeatedly, again and again. Actually, the previous verse is very interesting. The previous verse the Lord Nara Narayan, is being described, in particular in his capacity of being the spiritual master. And he's the spiritual master of exalted human beings, of Paramahansas, persons on the topmost platform of realization. He is their spiritual master, Lord Nara Narayan. So these features of the Lord, they inspire. Just like what is the difficulty of the living entity? The living entity, he is in the ignorance because he's attracted by the objects of the senses. So when he gains an understanding, a true understanding of Krishna, the attraction for the objects of the senses starts to subside. It starts to go down. If you do this exercise properly, if you become Krishna conscious, if you become aware of Krishna and his personal qualities, then your attraction for material senses or sense objects starts to subside. This is the trick, the formula. And by stages, by the 9th canto, Prabhupada says, one will be a fully God-realized soul. This is the program. That through the words of great devotees like Narada Muni in this case, and different personalities. Prahlad Maharaj spoke of Lord Nrsingadev earlier on. So all these personalities, through their realization, we are supposed to become similarly aware of Krishna. By hearing, just by hearing. Shushrusho Shraddha Dhanasya. Just by faithfully, submissively hearing, our own heart changes. We start to become, right now we're fully conscious of the objects of the senses. And then with the realization of Krishna, we start to become conscious of Krishna. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grayam Indriya. By our senses we cannot know Krishna. But by engaging our senses in the service of the Lord, by engaging our hearing in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna becomes manifest. We do not just see the sense objects, we start to see Krishna. We do not just see, in the case of the purport, a beautiful woman or a man. We start to see Krishna more and more. There is a development of consciousness because, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna refers to Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Gavihastini, Suni Chaiva Pakecha, Pandita Samadhar. He speaks of equal vision even though the Krishna conscious person is seeing different material bodies. He starts to see beyond the body. Samadarshina. So this is how we will not be unaffected by, like Lord Nara Narayan, but we can become Krishna conscious. In other words, if we become conscious of the Lord instead of the sense objects, that is our perfection. Our perfection is not that we will be independently unaffected and unattached. That's not the program. The program is to become attached to Krishna so that we may become unattached to to the objects of the senses. That's the process of Krishna consciousness. And that's the process of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is revealing pastimes of Krishna, topics of Krishna, so that our mind will go to Krishna. Savai mana Krishna padaravindayo vachangsi vaikuntha gunanuvarnane. Right now, our mind it's not a criticism. It's the natural state of our ignorance. It automatically goes to the objects of the senses. But that has to be changed by the process of Krishna consciousness, by the process of hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam, very submissively, with faith. Then this change can take place. Then we become, by being Krishna conscious, we become unaffected by what we see. Otherwise we'll be affected. Affected means there will be a karmic reaction. And for every karmic reaction there's a next birth. So all of this can be avoided simply by becoming Krishna conscious. Conscious of Krishna's name, qualities, attributes, fame, pastimes. So today we're not looking at the pastimes of the Lord, but His quality and His attribute. Guna. Krishna's guna. That yes, Krishna's body is Satchidananda Vigraha, but there's more detail to that. And one such detail is that Krishna is not affected by everything that He sees. It's also interesting, the word it's been used twice, what He sees. So Krishna sees a lot more than you and I. He sees everything at the same time, everywhere. See, we are only affected by what we see, but not affected by what we don't see. There are many things we don't see, but Krishna sees everything. And He's not affected. In one sense, He's the psychiatrist who is treating every living entity as his patient at the same time. And yet He's unaffected. It's a wonderful quality. It's a very attractive quality. That means I can take my problems to Krishna without fear of Krishna being affected. Krishna can handle our burden. A psychiatrist may well break, but not Krishna. So there's that famous statement we heard through the festival that Srila Prabhupada said, when you have a problem, you go in front of Gaur-Nitai and you say, "My dear sir," and you tell them your problem. And they will sort it out. You see. Because He can do that. Krishna can do that. Lord Chaitanya can do that. Krishna Balaram can do that. They have the capacity. And they are unaffected, and our problem will be resolved. So it's very interesting that, at least according to the Nectar of Devotion, that even the spiritual master should limit the number of disciples, because he may be affected. So I remember somebody was quoting a conversation between Srila Prabhupada and this very learned person from South India. Starts with S. Sampat, something like that. And basically, that devotee was appealing to Prabhupada not to have too many disciples, because he was fearful that it will affect him. So the outcome of this conversation was that at the end, that devotee from South India, he understood that that is Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice. Prabhupada knew that I will take on the burden for spreading Krishna consciousness. He did not prohibit anybody. Whoever there was a chance, he accepted. So it's an interesting, whilst we may be ignorant of these principles, Srila Prabhupada was fully aware that this is not good for his health, it is not good, but he did this as his sacrifice in pursuance of the fulfilling the order of his spiritual master. So it's a very interesting lesson that we're affected and Krishna is not. Are there any questions or comments? Can you take the mic?
When you were saying that Krishna is not affected by whatever he sees, maintains, creates, that got the picture of Lord Mahaprabhu in my mind, that so many universes are coming out of him and going inside his body and he's completely unaffected. But at the same time, I could also think of Krishna in Vrindavan. So when you think of the spiritual realm, Krishna is affected by everything that we see.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, okay, so we're talking about Krishna being unaffected, but in Vrindavan, he's always affected. The gopis affect him, the cows affect him, the cowherd boys affect him, they play games on him. So I told you that this is a development of Krishna consciousness, 5th canto. So we're going to discover how Krishna chooses to be affected. He chooses to be affected by those who love him without any tinge of this impersonal conception or awe and reverence, who love him uninhibited fashion. He is affected by them, but he chooses to be affected. He is not subject to Mother Yashoda, but he likes to be affected by Mother Yashoda. And actually, one devotee nicely explained, Radharani affects him the most, because everything about Radharani affects Krishna. It's so intimate. So this is the development. But at this point in time of our understanding of God, we should appreciate nothing affects him. Nothing has the power to affect him. So that's the difference between his existential position and the position in which he chooses to be. With his loving devotees, he chooses to be Jita, Ajita, Apistri Trilokyam. He chooses to be conquered by the love of his pure devotees. That's his own choice. Is that okay? Yeah, okay, follow on. Yeah.
And something related, I could also think of conditioned souls in this material world. So when Krishna thinks about the misery of the conditioned soul, then as you know, he out of compassion he comes as Lord Chaitanya. So here we see that conditioned souls are not Krishna.
Being compassionate and being affected are slightly different here. He definitely is compassionate, very merciful, but he's not materially affected. We are overwhelmed. We're like a magnet pulled by, iron filing pulled by a magnet, our condition. The 3 modes of nature affect us. They do not affect Krishna. But compassion is not born of 3 modes of nature. It's a very wonderful feeling on the Lord's behalf for us. Okay, pass it.
Thank you for that clarification. My questions were very similar to his. Just a quick follow-up. Lord Chaitanya, or Krishna's being affected, which causes his appearance as Lord Chaitanya, is not due to the plight of the conditioned souls in terms of their material conditioning, but it's rather due to the fact that they don't have much bhakti, which is of concern. So it seems that even that concern is still related to bhakti, as we were described, not related to the plight of the conditioned souls in terms of the material existence.
Thank you. But here's the point. We're in the 5th canto. Like he became affected, if you like, to become Nrsingadev to protect Prahlad. But if you study the pastime properly, he's not affected. He was never affected. But it was to show his love for Prahlad. So we're going to, like I said, our love of God is being developed. At this stage, we should just appreciate that Krishna is capable of handling every situation. That's the point. Yeah.
Definitely, I got that point, and I'm very grateful for that point. So my question is actually, I got a slight doubt with that explanation because as you were explaining, underscoring your discussion, how Krishna is unaffected, so then I got the understanding that, well, if I go to Krishna with my problem, of course he could handle it, but he's unaffected, which means he won't actually be moved by my plight. And the verse that came to mind, Samoham Sarvabhuteshu Namadeshwastinaka. So he's not affected actually by the plight of the conditioned souls, and therefore their plight continues. But then he says, Ye Brajanti too, Mama Bhavat. For those who have bhakti for me, then I become attracted to them, and they are attracted to me. So then I was getting an understanding, and I was looking for, maybe for the discussion on this particular point, that Krishna can handle my problem. There's no doubt about that. But he's unaffected, as we were describing. Therefore, that won't actually grab his attention. So then I was kind of coming to understanding that what is it that will actually affect Krishna? And the understanding I was getting is that bhakti is what attracts him or affects him as such. So I was getting the encouragement that I actually have to develop my bhakti. My plight as a conditioned soul is really of no consequence to Krishna. So I was maybe wanting to.
I'm glad for your resolution there. Any last point, comment, or correction? Maharaj, any last? Thank you very much. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada